Welcome to the Daughter Dearest Podcast with dynamic mother-daughter duo Simone and Olivia Canego, where they discuss the secrets of transformation and how to build bold confidence and unwavering resilience. From intimate conversations with inspiring guests to sharing their personal journeys of triumph and challenge, Simone and Olivia create a supportive space where every woman is encouraged to rise above her fears and love the woman in the mirror. Tune into the Daughter Dearest Podcast and join this special journey of connection and growth.
Hi, everyone. Welcome to this week's episode of the Daughter Dearest Podcast. I'm Simone Canego.
And I'm Olivia Canego.
And today we are recording from Sedona, Arizona. We're on vacation, and we thought this is a great opportunity to record an episode. And especially, we are going to be talking about something I think every mom needs to talk to their kids about, but we're going to be talking about teenage drinking. Now, Olivia's 21 now, but it's just kind of the things that we've talked about historically in our family. So I think we're going to start there. And of course, while we record, since she is 21, we're going to have a drink at the same time.
Yeah. I think that the first message, like, we're on vacation. It's really easy to say this. Your kids are going to be drinking whether you let them or whether you don't let them. That's just kind of rule of thumb. I would say, I don't want to say a general, it's fine. I don't want to say like a general number of people, but I would say at least everybody I knew like went into college having a drink before, and like going to college, you're not even 21. So like your kids are drinking. It's a hard fact to swallow, but also think about when you were a teenager.
Okay, let's talk about when I was a teenager.
Yeah.
So for me, as a teenager, my parents really never talked to me so much about drinking, and I kind of wish, I wish they would have, because I feel like we didn't have that open relationship. And yes, I mean, there were times where I drank way too much, and I was 16, 17 years old. I got in people's cars that had been drinking. I don't think any of my kids now would do that, because we have
into someone's car.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I don't know if it's a generational thing or if it's like having a doctor dad who, I think it's different when like a parent tells you, oh no, it's bad to drink and drive. But like when my dad will come home and like describe the cases that he had to go through because someone decided to drink and drive, it's so horrendous. Like they steered us away from it.
Yeah, I think that's a big part of it.
But I also don't know a lot of people my age that do drink and drive. I feel like maybe with the invention of like Uber and Lyft, people don't really do that. I don't know. Obviously they do, but not as much.
Yeah, I mean, I think they do. Just think about what was on the news last week.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. I mean, Justin Timberlake getting pulled over for a
insane.
DWI, right? I mean, someone that has all the ability to get someone else to drive
literally anybody in the world to drive him.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I would say maybe the younger generation isn't doing it as much. I don't know. I lived in New York for 4 years, so it's not really possible to drink and drive there.
Yeah. I mean, I think that's a good thing.
Yeah.
But I would say even your younger brother, who is 20, like they always have a designated driver with his friends. They're
really good about it. I know there are kids in my grade that weren't good, but we would like wrestle them for their keys.
Yeah.
I don't know if that makes sense.
Yeah, of course. I mean,
I just think people are, I would like to say that people are less stupid about it now, but I don't know if that's true.
So it's a really hard thing, because I mean, it's like, what's the right thing to do as a parent? And I would tell you that, I mean, obviously it has to work for you, but
you work for you and your kid.
Right.
Because what might work for you will not at all work for your kid.
Yeah. I mean, there's definitely, I don't know, there have been situations where I know that people that I know, they think their kids aren't drinking, and their kids are drinking all of the time.
Yeah.
But they've never had this open conversation with their kids, or maybe they have, and they just haven't, a lot of people, their open conversation is don't drink.
Yeah, exactly. And that's just, like I said, every kid, most every kid at least will have a sip of alcohol before they're 21 and be in at least a couple of situations, whether drinking or not, where it'd be good to be educated about the subject. especially if you plan on sending your kids to a university. Like part of the social life at university, unavoidable, is drinking.
Yeah. And it's really that discussion of what's too much and being safe. And I mean, I think back to all the times where I'm lucky I'm here. I mean, there's definitely times that it did not go right.
Yeah. I mean,
you
I
know,
can't really say that.
I remember in high school, I was at a party with my boyfriend at the time, and he got in a massive fight with someone. He was not a good guy. We've talked about him before.
Yeah.
I'm sure we'll talk about him again, but he was not a good guy. And you know, he was beaten up pretty bad. I don't even remember what happened to the other guy, but I had to take him to the hospital, and he was definitely drunk when we got in there. And it was like a horrible situation.
Yeah.
At 16 years old, something that I shouldn't have had to deal with, but I did. And I can't say, I guess it was eye-opening. I mean, I think that you're right, a different generation. So back then, it wasn't so much of a discussion about what you should and what you shouldn't do. It was just like, don't drink.
Yeah, I think that you have to tell people what to do and what not to do because, like, I don't know, vague instructions never work. And I don't know, I think that people still do stupid things no matter what. That's just kind of human nature. And your kids are definitely like, even if you tell them what you think their limit is, they're not going to acknowledge that either.
Well, absolutely.
But I think like you just have to tell them. I think it's just like a weird thing to think that parents think their kids aren't drinking.
Yeah, it really is the open conversation. And so anyways, going back to the parents who I know who they think their kids are drinking, but they absolutely are drinking. And then those are the kids you worry about going to parties.
Oh, absolutely. They were always the kids you worried about on a teenage perspective as well, because those were the kids that had no filter, that had no limit, but had to be home by a certain time. So I can think of one kid in my grade who had very strict parents, would never let him drink. And he would always get pretty honestly, nowhere where he could way past the point of driving.
Mm-hmm.
To the point that it was like, oh my God, like, are you okay right now? And then he'd be like, okay, it's 11. Like, I have to go home now. And everyone would be like, what the hell?
And
you can't get in your car. We'd take his keys away. If I was there, I'd be like, hell no, you're not driving. Someone can order you an Uber. One of your friends can drive you. But it's just like, those tend to be the worst cases. And I put in quotes because obviously everybody can do stupid things, but people that test their limits because they don't know better.
Yeah, I think about, we have allowed the kids to have, and when I say, well, a couple of the kids to have parties at our house in the past.
I was not allowed.
Yeah, I'm telling you, we're not doing it anymore. And
I would never do it. Like, God bless the parents that let their kids have parties, or God bless the parents that don't know their kids have parties at their house. Hopefully it's
that's the bad
the
part.
latter. I don't know, but I would never do that because like I will literally, and this is bad, spoiler, I will literally go into people's fridges at parties and just like judge you based off of what's in your fridge.
Oh,
yeah, I'm not causing damage to your house, but like I'm going through your food and I'm probably going through your medicine cabinet.
Oh my God, you don't say things like that.
I'm intrusive.
Well, I would tell you that my big concern, so the kids would invite a certain number of people over that we would know. And in that situation, it was okay, but it never ended there.
No, of course not.
Problem.
Someone invites someone who invites someone who invites someone. I know I've been looking at them the entire time.
Sorry, we're looking out the window and there's a deer running by our window, and that was just fantastic. It's so beautiful here. Yeah, so then all of a sudden 10 people turn into 50 people and you don't know the majority of them and you have no idea how they're getting home or what they're doing.
Or if their parents are okay with it. And legally, fun fact, you were actually held liable for that because you were private property.
Yeah.
Depending on the state you're in, obviously.
Well, I definitely think you are held liable for it. So if
it just depends on the drinking rules of this state too. But like you're held liable for
so if someone,
a lot of it.
if a kid comes to our house, even though he wasn't invited, he shows up, he drinks and he drives home and gets in an accident, it's our responsibility. So that
even if it's not like legally, like morally, that you have to deal with that, and like ethically those, and just like the parents being upset at you, like all of the above.
Yeah, no, it's too scary. And I was okay if the kids were having some of their friends over and their parents were okay with it. That was the other big thing. Like the parents had to be okay with it. And we took their keys away. So then I didn't have to worry because anytime someone would have a party, all you stay up the whole time. You can't sleep because it's so stressful. So I know a lot of parents say, well, our kids shouldn't go to parties. Our kids should never have a party. Our kids should never drink. Well, it's not realistic. I mean,
No, it's not
they're
realistic.
gonna go. You just have to figure out to make
It's
a way to
also-
make it safe for them.
Putting that restrictions on a child, especially a teenager, like I feel like I can say this now because I'm 21 and I
Yeah.
can like reflect on this. Like that's restrictions on a kid like that will never work in the way you want them to. Yeah, they might follow it, but it might create like a super toxic relationship between you and your child that might end up with them never speaking to you again because they don't trust you in that manner, that you're not willing to have an open conversation, or they think you're too strict, so they're not going to tell you what's actually happening.
Yeah, you see that a lot.
Yeah.
You really see that a lot with kids kind of. And I do think that the Uber thing is a big deal now. And now that they have Uber Teen.
I was about to say, yeah, that's
Yeah.
a nice thing that they finally
that
did.
just
Yeah.
that's just in the last few months, right?
Oh yeah, that you can have like an authorized, essentially you can order a teenager an Uber, or
Right.
they can order it under your thing. Forget the actual way of doing it, but before, I'm sure like everyone did it, but before, like literally 6 months ago, if you were under 18, you could not order an Uber.
And actually, I remember the kids coming home one day, the boys coming home one day, and I thought a parent was picking them up. Parent wasn't picking them up. They tried to get in an Uber and the Uber wouldn't let them because they're like, you don't look 18.
I actually didn't know those rules. I was getting picked up for my prom and I was like, oh yeah, like I'm 17. And she's like, oh, I really should not be driving you right now. I was like, I had no clue those were even the rules.
Yeah, it's really scary. I mean, it's really one of the scariest things as a parent because, and I think one of the things that we were always okay with, that if you're home, you can try whatever you want. I mean, I never like wanted to drink like tons of stuff, but especially for your older brother, we kind of, when your dad was in a phase of drinking like Trappist beer, like fancy
Oh yeah, that
beer,
was weird.
that was like an introduction to the kids of like what good beer should taste like. So that when you get to college and you're drinking the stuff that tastes like piss out of a
Yeah.
out of a nasty barrel,
Yeah.
that you're like, you know what, I don't think I want to drink this.
Yeah.
Although I think you still did drink it.
I've never drank out of a keg before. I didn't go to a real
Really?
party school.
You've never had
Mom, I
drunk
went
out
to
of a keg?
clubs. I didn't go to bars or house parties.
Huh.
Very different.
Interesting.
Yeah.
I didn't realize
Had a lot
that.
of well drinks. Probably had
Well drink you could have.
probably every vodka under $15 you could have.
Oh. Yeah. So I remember back to, I mean, talking about just alcohol in general. We're on a family vacation right now, and we usually travel every summer with my best friend from college.
And it's weird now because all the kids are grown.
Yeah, all the kids are grown up. I mean, not all legal drinking age yet, but pretty close to it. And
Yeah.
it is interesting. Like looking back, we were talking about, I took out orange juice the other day from the fridge, and my kids know that I don't drink orange juice unless it's fresh squeezed, not because I'm bougie,
No,
but because,
screwdrivers.
yeah, because when I was in college, we had the nastiest alcohol that we'd mix with orange juice, and getting sick off of that was like nothing you ever want to do ever again in your life. So I can't drink regular orange juice anymore. You have anything like that? Is there anything like when you drink something, you're like, oh, I can't drink that because
I'm gonna actually say I'm a pretty gross human being. So, and this doesn't actually relate back to drinking. This relates back to Crohn's. And when you go in for a colonoscopy, I always whatever thing they give me, the medication, it makes me throw up as well.
Yeah.
And I was drinking yellow Gatorade one time and I threw up and I was like, I'm never drinking this again, but I still drink yellow Gatorade.
Yeah.
So no, nothing like that. Honestly, I'll still do it.
It's only me. Yeah.
No, it's a lot of people. I am just gross.
You're funny. What's your worst drunk moment? Like
that I
let's
can
say, like,
remember.
your funniest drunk moment.
Oh,
Because I have a good story
of you or me?
of me.
Oh, I was gonna be like, oh, what do you know about me? I don't
Okay,
know.
well, you think
Anytime-
I'll,
yeah, I have to
got-
think.
okay,
Anytime
you
with
think I'm
my
going to tell my funny story. So we were at a friend's birthday party, and I am a full out grown adult. I was probably 45 years old, something like that. And we went to a friend's 60th birthday party, and they served very nice wine at that party. And they had a band, and they had a DJ. And I drank way too much, and we were dancing. I literally think we shut down the party. Like, we were there the entire time. So we go to order an Uber. We couldn't even figure out how to order the Uber. I mean, we canceled like 3. Finally, we got an Uber. So then the Uber, okay, we're fine. The Uber pulls up in front of our house. And the way our house is, we have this like berm where there's 2 big palm trees in it. And instead of pulling into our driveway, the Uber driver pulls in front of this big lump in the ground and lets us out there. And I'm wearing heels. And at the end of the party, the bartender's like, "Do you want one more drink?" And Rob's like, "Yeah, my wife will have some more white wine." And instead of just giving me a glass, he gave me the entire bottle. It was not open. Thank goodness I didn't get a glass, because I would not have needed one more sip of alcohol. So I'm walking across the yard. My husband walks in front of me, walking across the yard. And I literally trip at some point, face plant with my hand in the air, because I didn't want to break the bottle of wine. So I didn't save the face, but I saved the bottle of wine. And, Rob turns back and looks at me. He's like, "Is the wine okay?" He didn't ask if I was okay. He's like, "Is the wine okay?" I'm like, "The wine is okay." 2 of your siblings saw that happen.
I was not there.
No, you were not there. 2 of your siblings saw it happen. So the next morning I wake up. Oh my gosh, that was the worst day of my life. I have never been that sick. And I go to look in the mirror. I literally have a black eye, not a full black eye, but partially black eye from like face planting in the yard. And that bottle of wine literally sat in our wine fridge until earlier this year. I couldn't drink it. I could not drink it. But your dad and your older sister drank it, but it sat there for about 7 years.
Yeah, because
I could not look at it. I was like, this is absolutely disgusting. I have never been that sick ever in my life, especially getting sick off of wine. I was like, okay, kids, this is a learning experience. This is what not to do. Hopefully that worked. Okay, did you think of a story?
I mean, I have a lot of stories. I'm trying to think of ones that are like actually funny, I guess is the question.
Their stories.
No, but like, I mean, I'm a hoot and a holler when I'm with my friends. Like, we just always cause
something that they say
ruckus.
like in the 60s, a hoot and a holler. How old are you?
I love saying old timey Southern phrasing. Like, well, I guess that's not. Okay, I'll tell this story. This was my freshman year. Spoiler alert, I was underage drinking. And it was freshman. Actually, we don't need to go to the specifics about being COVID time and how if you knew the right person, you can get in the bar. But because they weren't supposed to be open past midnight. So it was Cinco de Mayo, my freshman year. Oh boy, guys. At this point, I had already discovered I did not like tequila. And I really, at this point, did not like tequila. And so we went out to dinner and we got like pitchers upon pitchers of sangria. And I'm already like pretty drunk by the time we get to dinner. So then we go to dinner and then we go to my friend's apartment. I literally like sit in her bathtub for like 30 minutes before one of the guys comes in there and he's like, "You have to come going out. You got this. You have this." And I was like, "Oh yeah, okay. I guess I'll do it." The best part of that night was we go to the bar. I'm just talking to randos as I normally do because it's not like a college bar. It's a New York City bar. So you have people that are, our age, so young, and like 70-year-olds who are there probably to hit on young women. But you're having a good time, whatever. And then it's like, okay, like it's time to wrap up. This was back in the day when we would only stay out till like 1 a.m. And granted, still 1 a.m. is a really long time for me now. I literally went to bed at like maybe 8:45 last night. I would like to say 8:45. Maybe it was 8:30. So we go out of the bar and then I was going to stay at my friend's apartment and the rest of my friends were going back to the dorms. And then all of a sudden my best friend pulls me aside and she's like, "Look what I got." Underneath her jacket, and she's small, she's like 5'4". Underneath her jacket is like a picture frame size, like a 9, probably bigger. I don't even know inches of the massive fireball sign that's in our house. And we looked it up. It's like a $250 sign. She took it off the wall, took the charger too, and just put it under her coat and just ran out of the bar. That was also probably up until recently the most hungover I've ever been. I actually projectile vomit this day.
Alcohol.
Was bad, and as you get older, alcohol turns worse. I think that turning 21 has been debilitating in a lot of ways because you can't really say no now to being like, oh, I can't really go out, I'm 20, so you have to go out. And then also the hangovers are significantly worse. Like significantly worse. Like I'd have like maybe an hour headache in the morning. I'd go and get like a bagel, a coffee, and I'd be set. You know, like I might be groggy. Oh my God, they're horrible now. It's like a whole day affair of being miserable. I don't know why anybody does it. And yet I keep doing it over and over again. It never gets better.
It's one of those things, like I really try not to drink that much where I'm non-functional the next day, because for me,
anybody tried to drink
no,
that
but
much?
like you have to like count, right? You're like, okay, I had 2 glasses of wine, I should stop. And then you have a third and you're like, okay, this is definitely it, because otherwise I can't function tomorrow.
Yeah.
And she was just in Chicago, and she calls me the next morning and she's like, I don't know how you drink. And I was like, I drink wine. Like if you drink something that is 80 proof
My
liquor.
drink at the point at right now is a diet vanilla. It's a vanilla vodka with Diet Coke. It's actually delicious.
That sounds horrible to me.
Well, it's better than like regular Diet Coke and vodka and like literally anything else.
Okay, well, it still sounds horrible.
It's horrible for you, probably.
But the difference is, like, I'm drinking a glass of wine, and the strongest wine I've seen is like 18% or whatever.
Yeah.
Well, when you're drinking hard liquor, that is a
when you're like 19 years old, you don't feel the difference.
I know and you're also not going to be like, oh, I'd like a glass of Chardonnay.
Yeah. Also, I would still probably never order unless I was at a wine bar, because like cheap wine is bad.
Yeah, cheap wine is bad.
Cheap wine gives you worse hangovers than actual alcohol.
I have no idea.
Well, I can tell you it does.
Yeah,
but also like that's one of the things, like you can tell your kids 1,000 times that, and they just have to learn it from themselves.
I think something that we really should touch on is, so yes, I mean, when your kids are teenagers and trying to figure out like what's the right thing, like do you let them have parties, do you not, do you take their keys away? Obviously you always take their keys away, but
Always.
do you what do you say to your kids about drinking? Because again, if you just say no, then guess what they're going to do? They're going to drink. Even if you say yes, they're going to drink, whatever you do. But I think like the safety part of it is key.
It's the most important, because like you can tell your kid like drinking is bad and it makes you feel bad, blah, 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 blah. But that's a self-experience. What they need to know is, okay, you're going out, stick with your friend the entire time.
Yeah.
Don't put your drink down, especially if you're a girl or a boy. Don't put your drink down. If you're at like a place that you don't know, get something with a can and watch the person open the can.
It's scary that
no, it's a real thing. I've had multiple friends be roofied, and it's just like, it's unfortunate. That's how girls and boys, obviously both genders, experience it. But like, it's a weird thing that you have to think about going out. But like, that's the most important part. And especially I think with the Uber teen now, it's like, oh, like, well, I don't want them going out, so I don't have to pick them up. Like you have that set up, and you're not, as a parent, you're probably not going to sleep regardless, but at least you don't have to get out of bed. Your teen can be like, request the ride or whatever. I
think the key there is always to be with a buddy, right? I mean, always to have a friend with you.
Never be alone. Like, and I'm not saying, there's been situations where like you want to split off from the main group. I've been like that so many times in my life where I'm like, okay, like I need to go to the bathroom, or I need some fresh air, or like I want to do something else. You just grab someone. Yeah. You grab your person and you tell someone else where you're going, and that's fine. I think that, I mean, I don't know if all friend groups do this, but I have all of my girlfriends' locations. I know where all of them are.
I think that's so important.
Regardless if I'm going out with them or not, because like, even if it's just, oh, I don't know where my phone is. Like, I think I left it at this bar. Oh, it is at this bar. Like we can go find it, but you need to know that it's unfortunate that the safety is the issue with the alcohol, and not just like the fact that you're putting like a toxic substance into your body. which is
Well, they're both issues.
they're both
right?
issues, but like the
When you
safety
get
is,
to an extreme, yes.
and I think part of the cynicism I have behind it is going to college in New York City, and going to college in any big city, you see a lot more dangerous stuff than you would see in a small town.
Yeah. Well, just think about the kid from Nashville, and I can't think of his name.
It's
So,
Riley, I
which
think. I don't remember his last name.
Obviously it would be respectful to know his name right now, but the fact that he was in Nashville, he got so drunk and did he get kicked out of a bar? I don't remember.
The tea there that they're not posting, that I know from insider sources in Nashville, is that the bar that kicked him out did not let him leave with his friends. He was forced out a back entrance and his friends went out the front.
So anytime, I mean, you have to stay with a friend.
Yeah. And you need to like fight people that say otherwise. You can be like, also like if your friend is trying to tell you otherwise when they're drunk, like
you always have to have a person with you.
Yes. And you're always sober up to that moment. Like, I don't know. I've been in a lot of situations where I've been the drunk one, or I've had to be the one that sobers up. And you always just do, because like, even just like random girls that I'll meet at the club will be like, you're not okay right now. Like, we need to go do something.
And that's what I, again, love about your brother's friend group, is that they always have a designated driver, and they're not just a designated driver, they're a designated watcher, so that they make sure everybody gets home okay.
Yeah. Like we do a head count at the end of the night, and it's fine if you want to go off and do something, but like, you need to tell us, and we need to have your location, and you need to have your phone charged.
Yeah. I think as a parent, I worry so much about the roofie thing, and the thought of, that you can't put your drink down, and don't go to the dance floor without your drink, or
and that's
drink from a can. And
it sucks having to go to the dance floor with your drink, but you know what sucks more? Being roofied.
Oh, yeah. Thank you for your insight.
Like it does.
The idea, but talking about this kid, the fact that he literally, I mean, what they think happened was that he fell in the river and drowned. And that's just, that's terrifying, right?
It's so terrifying. And like, obviously the bars are a little bit at fault there, because they were serving someone that was clearly intoxicated, whatever. But like, more importantly, I think the learning lesson from that situation, and a lot of these situations where kids and adults get themselves into dangerous drinking situations, is that like, you're doing a substance that is going to leave you in some level of intoxication, and don't do it alone. Don't be alone while you're doing it. Don't go off alone. Because you truly never know. And that's, I mean, to say with every substance, I remember, I don't even know what Dad was talking about, but it's in my head. It could be the first time, it could be the 100th time you do something.
Yeah. I mean, you always have to be
never,
And there is, I mean, obviously, we're drinking a drink.
Yeah, there's a safe way to consume it. Like, we're going out to dinner later, but we have a party bus it's a party bus because there's like
26 people.
Yes, there's not just because my mom and I are going to a party. Like, if it was just the two of us, we would
fantastic.
Uber. Yeah, that'd be kind of dope.
Yeah.
But like, there is a bus picking us up to go somewhere.
Yeah.
And so like, no one is going to be leaving alone anywhere.
There's always a safe way. And I truly think as a parent, that's the most important conversation you have with your kid.
Yeah.
Telling my kids, you can't do this, is just not going to work.
It's never going to work.
It's the conversation.
Literally never going to work. They're going to just
I know this is going to happen, but let's talk about how you can do this safely.
Yeah.
And I've always told them, this was before the Uber situation, that I will pick them up anywhere, anytime. I will. And I really have never had to do it, because they've always been pretty responsible about things. And I know when I was a kid.
Well, I never wanted to have you do that. I can think of the parties in high school. It always was like, oh, I'm sleeping over.
Yeah.
Or like, I'm sleeping over at someone else's house.
Yeah. I would say that, for me, when I was a teenager, I struggled with that. First of all, my parents didn't offer that, but I think like I had a bad idea in my head, like, oh, if my parents pick me up, people will make fun of me. And I don't think that.
Bro, that's ridiculous.
Right. I don't think
because if someone's parents pick you up, they'll probably stop at like McDonald's.
They get you snacks.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That was always the best. Like, we had older classmates when I was in high school, like, come and pick us up from stuff. And it'd be like, oh my God, let's go get McDonald's, please. And they always would.
Yeah. So I think that for me, and I would say to the kids that I'll pick you up anywhere. I can pick you up around the corner from the party. I don't have to come in to the
I
front of the
think
party.
also a lot of it, like with that, is like, oh, will you tell my mom? Like, you're not going to tell my mom, right? Like, that should never have to be a conversation where like, please don't tell my mom I was drinking.
Yeah.
Like,
I want my kids to say, let me tell you what I did last night. Or even before they go, let me tell you where I'm going. So you know where I am.
yeah. And like, your kid's probably not going to tell you every single thing that they've ever done, but like,
they're not, for sure. They're not, but
no.
general idea. And that, again, it just goes back to me. For me, it goes back to safety. And that's the most important thing is that I want to make
100%.
sure my kids are safe. And I knew how I,
It's a
how I
scary
was like,
world.
I was pretty dangerous back then.
And I think
I didn't know.
I feel like the thing that's gotten weirder or like kind of changed between your world of drinking as like a teen and young adult versus mine is that like, yeah, we're still doing stupid shit, but you guys were doing like ridiculous stuff in a safer world and we're doing calmer stuff in a dangerous world.
Yeah, the world is much more dangerous.
Yeah.
Or what we see is much more
dangerous. 100%. I think
so.
And I mean, like you see things online and it, whatever, you know how it made. Yeah. It's just, I don't know. It needs to be an open conversation because most Americans
needs to be an open
conversation.
Over the weather you're talking
and
about.
It doesn't need to be like the specifics. Like you don't need to know every single shot that your kid did because honestly, you're probably going to gag at some of the stuff they did.
Oh, gosh.
Yeah.
But what you do want to make sure your kid knows, I mean, because I can tell you how many people you hear these, and I don't know how much you hear about it still, but that have alcohol poisoning because they try to do the tower of shots.
And this is a learning lesson that I think me and all my friends have had to go through is that you have to wait for the alcohol to kick in. So you can't do 8 shots in a row. You have to do 1 and then, okay, I want to do another. Okay, I'll do another. Like not like 1, 2, 3, 4.
Yeah. I mean,
but yeah, alcohol poisoning, that's a real thing. All colleges make you do training on it, but like, I don't know if anyone actually pays attention during the training. Like,
but you see all these movies where they do shot after shot after shot after shot, and the kids think, oh, it's no big deal. I mean, it's a super big deal.
I've known a lot of friends have had alcohol poisoning. I've known,
and there's
people that have gotten
kids who have died from alcohol poisoning, and
it's really scary to think about, honestly. Yeah, because it's just avoidable deaths.
So, okay, I think we're getting pretty depressing here.
Yeah,
because I will never tell my kids don't drink. I will say, here's what I think is the safest way. And please come ask me anything you need. And also just I think it served me well. I
don't know, like we're probably rambling, so we should probably wrap up soon. But I think that a big takeaway as a teenager is just like, don't be mad at your kids for doing stuff that you would have done.
Oh, that's huge. I mean, I think about that all the time, that how can I be judgy about what you guys do when I know what I did?
Yeah.
And
so, it's just like, you want to create the safe space that like, if the kid feels like they truly messed up, whether that's like drinking or otherwise, that they can come and like be upset with you about it, or be upset, like, yeah, not at you, but like with you,
to say,
and like cry and be like, and create that safe space. And instead of sucking it and be like, oh no, everything's fine. And it comes back to everything.
So takeaways from today. I mean, my 2 takeaways are: have that open conversation. Don't say no.
I'd say don't say no with, I mean, anything on, well, most things. Well, yeah.
You got to just teach the safety piece.
Don't say no without a reason.
Yeah. I mean, I just think that everything in moderation, right?
Obviously, your kid's going to have to learn moderation by themselves. Like, and that's okay. But don't be mad at them after they learn that lesson.
Yeah. I mean,
there's no reason to be, because that's a lesson that needs to be learned, not a lesson that can be taught.
Yeah. Very good.
Thank you.
I like that.
Thank you.
Very good. Do you have your calendar?
I do.
She's got a calendar in her back pocket. Even more exciting.
I'm so prepared. I love how I was wearing this shirt. This is actually unintentional.
Oh yeah, that's kind of funny actually.
Yeah.
What's on your shirt?
Oh, I forgot that we're podcasting. It's all the ingredients to make an Aperol Spritz.
Yeah.
Which is always the drink of the summer, regardless of what New York Times says. Passing wisdom rises in your moments of need. It separates you from the pack, moves you in new directions, and lives on in the very fabric of your being. It adds depth and meaning and quality to our lives. You don't just know the thing you learned, you are the thing now. And you don't need the Instagram fantasy of a Bugatti or a blingy new watch to Band-Aid your insecurities anymore either.
we're talking a bit about wisdom here, right?
Yeah.
Wisdom as a child and wisdom as, we're going to drink.
Anybody.
Right.
Just
So
be safe.
be safe.
Always be safe. And trust your kid.
I think that's another thing.
Also, like, it's okay to have your kid's location. Just don't be weird about it.
Okay, I'm going to add one more piece to that because we had, Ari he had to do a paper about if kids think that's like infringement on their rights if their parents have their location. It was like a pretty in-depth thing that he did. And I just said, you do know I have your location. He said, I know, but you never like throw that back at me. It's not like you see my location and then call me and say, I see where you are. You need to leave. No. And I said, absolutely. I only have your location so that it's for my peace of mind. But if something happens, I know where to come find you. I know where to start.
Yeah. No, I think like considering it from a legal perspective, it takes a while to pull those records from AT&T. And if something actually did, or whatever service you have, something did actually happen, you immediately have access. And you've used my location a couple of times, not to tell me to leave somewhere, more of just like, what are you doing in Jersey right now?
I was like,
that's happened one time. And I was like, don't worry about it.
Yeah.
I told you about this.
I know.
And then I like having your location because I track you.
Yeah, I know. The kids have asked for my location.
I'd like, that's another thing. Like, make it equal. If you're going to grab your kid's location, make sure they have yours too, because you want to know where they are. Yeah, I want to know why mom's not home yet.
Yeah.
Where's mom? Give me your location.
They track me all the time now. Okay, now we're really rambling. Anyways, so I hope you find this episode enlightening. We would appreciate if you share a review. If you like the podcast, share it with your friends. Go on our link and make sure you take my confidence archetype quiz so you can sign up for my newsletter, which every week I send out something new about confidence, patience, empathy. There's always something going on. Lots of good stories because with 6 kids and a husband of 31 years, there are always stories.
He's not 31. They've been married for 31 years.
A husband of 31 years. I've been married to him for 31 years.
No, you said it. I just,
Oh, do you think my husband's 31 years old? Wow, look at me. No, my husband is not 31 years old, but thank you for that. Anyways, thank you for joining us on this week's episode of the Daughter Dearest podcast, and we will see you next time.
Bye, guys.
Thank you for listening to the Daughter Dearest Podcast with Simone and Olivia Canego. We hope this episode has made your day just a little bit brighter and given you the inspiration you need to confidently go about your week. Always remember to be authentically you. Don't forget to like and subscribe so you never miss an episode. And feel free to connect with them on Instagram at Daughter Dearest Podcast, at Simone Canego, and at Olivia Canego. Till next time.